Before anything else, a correction and an apology. The first version of this dossier read the featured winners as Purge the Foe armies. That was wrong. The combined detachment headers in the BCP list exports tripped our parser, and when we went back and read every export by hand, the records say something different, and honestly, something more interesting. This is the corrected dossier, rebuilt from the player's own list text, top to bottom. So, the Leagues of Votann. This past weekend, they posted the single biggest win rate jump on our meta report, and a lot of people asked if the squats had finally arrived. 122 lists, 706 games, and the surge is still not the story. The story is that Leagues of Votann have been quietly good all edition, and the way they win is not what everyone assumes. Names come straight off BCP pairings, and corrections in the comments genuinely get acted on. Today is the proof. Let's do this properly. Start with the health check. Across the edition, Leagues of Votann sit at 52.7% over 706 games. That's not a spike, that's 122 lists holding comfortably above the line for a month. 67 of those lists finish with a winning record, and the faction has 2 outright event wins. Now the weekend everyone saw. On the meta report, LOV posted the single biggest climb of the week, up more than 9 points. And on the Saturday, they ran genuinely hot, around 61%. That's the spike. But set it next to the season-long 52-7, and it stops looking like an arrival and starts looking like a good weekend for an army that was already solid. One honest note on the sample. Small faction, small player base, so the weekly number swings hard. 61 one weekend, high 40s the next. The cumulative 52-7 is the signal. Treat any single weekend as noise until it repeats. So what are they bringing straight from the export text this time? The most played build in the faction is the Hearthguard Covenant, paired with a Needgaard Oathband, 34 of 122 lists, with the Covenant plus a Mercenary Oathband second at 23. Almost nobody runs a detachment alone. Here's the mechanic. At a 2,000 point strike force, you get 3 detachment points. The Needgaard Oathband costs 2, the Hearthguard Covenant costs 1, and each detachment adds its force disposition to your menu. The Covenant brings priority assets, the objective game. Needgaard brings Purge the Foe, kill to score. You lock 1 at muster. And here's what the exports actually say. Of the roughly 40 lists that declare their pick, priority assets leads, 17 against Purge the Foe's 8. In practice, the squats are not a kill-to-score faction. They take the Covenant's objective mission, park the tough bricks on the points, and make you come to them. Hold that thought, because all 3 featured winners this week locked an objective plan, and not one of them locked Purge the Foe. The Needgaard reference card, and it reads differently now. Martial leverage. Every enemy unit that dies banks you a YP, and the stratagems spend it. Sustained hits on the guns, extra armor penetration in the fight, bonus damage on the Iron Ambassador. None of that changed. What changed is why you take it. You are not buying the mission. The winners mostly pick priority assets from the Covenant instead. You are buying the engine. Martial leverage pays out on kills, whether or not the scoreboard cares, so the YP economy runs at full speed while your bricks sit on objectives. Kill for fuel, score for points. 2 different currencies, and this detachment funds one while the Covenant wins you the other. And this is the objective game on 1 card, and it is not a theoretical. One of our featured runs played this exact card on record. Immovable object. What a take and hold army plays when the opponent locks Purge the Foe. 3 points. At the end of any turn, you hold a central objective. From round 2, 5 points per objective you control away from home at the end of your command phase, and the same 5 per objective in the final round. There is no kill scoring anywhere on this card. You win it by refusing to die on the right patches of dirt, which might be the most Votann sentence I have ever said. Sweet Lose Round 5, the title game against Imperial Knights, was this pairing on record. They're declared take and hold into a Freeblade company that carries Purge the Foe. And in our Adeptus Custodes dossier, you will see this same table from the other side. The kill to score card that punishes the sitter. 1 battle, 2 scoreboards. Now the roster. Leagues of Votann are the newest army in the game. with a small model range that only recently started filling out. With that few kits, every list running the same handful of units is just arithmetic. What matters is how many of each they bring, and the winning lists double down. The typical build stacks close to 2 units of Hernkin Pioneers, 2 bricks of Einhyr Hearthguard, and 2 of the Brokir Thunderkin, with a Hecaton Land Fortress or 2 to haul it all up the board. That density is the read. When your range is small, your edge comes from bringing more of what works, so a Votann list leans into multiples of its best durable bricks and its fast bikes, rather than spreading across a toolbox. Pioneers to scout and score, doubled up Hearthguard and Thunderkin for the hammer and the guns, Hecatons to move it. Low variety, high density. And that steadiness is part of why the win rate barely moves. Now the characters and what they actually unlock. The pairing you'll see most is the Call leading the Einhyr Hearthguard in 84 lists. The Call hands that whole unit lethal hits, so their critical hits skip the wound roll and land automatically. On an already elite gun and fist unit, that turns every good hit into reliable damage against even the toughest target. The other one to know is the Brokir Ironmaster with the Thunderkin, and his trick is simpler. The unit rerolls wound rolls of 1 on its shooting, exactly the nudge a fire support unit wants to stop whiffing on the big stuff. One idea to hold: Votann characters are multipliers on already durable infantry. They aren't damage dealers themselves. You attach them to make the tough units hit harder and more reliably. If you drill leader attachments in the app, this is a clean faction to practice on because the pairings barely change. Before the winning list, the matchup board. Leagues of Votann feast on a specific menu. Adeptus Sororitas, 72% over 25 games. Astra Militarum, around 67. Space Wolves and World Eaters, both mid-60s. Those are infantry-forward armies that have to walk into a wall of tough bodies and heavy guns, and the wall wins. Flip it over, and the bad matchups are just as clear. Chaos Daemons, a brutal 24% over 41 games, real sample. Ad-Mech in the low 30s. And the 2 that give them the most trouble up top, Emperor's Children at 34, and Custodes, also 34 over 73 games. The pattern is speed and quality. The armies that beat Votann are the ones that don't have to walk into the guns. They pick their fight, hit the durable units where it hurts, and never give the grind time to work. Hold that Custodes number, it's the exact mirror of one in our Custodes dossier. So this is a rock, paper, scissors faction. It stomps mid-table infantry and gets stomped by fast elite hitters and the demons. Know which side of that your local meta sits on before you buy in. The Calc corner, one clean idea, the Call on the Einhyr Hearthguard. His whole job is to give that unit lethal hits, where a critical hit skips the wound roll and lands automatically. Here's what that's worth: hand-computed, pure dice. Take a unit hitting on 3s into a target it wounds on 4s. Normally, you land about a third of your attacks as wounds. Bolt lethal hits on top, and the roughly 1 in 6 of your attacks that crit now wound no matter what, which pushes you up to about 40%. Call it a 25% bump. And here's the part that matters. The tougher the target, the more lethal hits is worth, because those auto wounds skip a wound roll that was getting harder. Against something you'd only wound on 5s, that same rule is closer to a 50% gain. That's why the Call goes on the elite gun unit. It's your answer to the hard targets Leagues of Votann otherwise bounce off. List review 1, and it's the run of the edition for this faction. Junior Aflleje, 7-1 at the Warhammer Open in Tacoma, an 8-round event on the Covenant and Needgaard pairing, and their disposition is on the record, written in their own export. Priority assets, not kill the score. The most violent-looking list in the faction spent 8 rounds playing the objective game. The list is the textbook. Pioneers, Hecaton, the Hearthguard brick with the Call, Thunderkin for fire support. What makes it the run of the edition isn't a spicy list. It's a very good player piloting the consensus build through 8 rounds without cracking. Let's look at the run. Aflleje's 8 rounds on the objective plan. Round 1, Astra Militarum, a matchup LOV win about 2/3 of the time over 36 games, cashed hard 95 to 39. Round 6 is still the one to frame. Custodes, the faction's worst wall, 25 and 48 this season, and it fell 99 to 46. Now the mission layer, where the records exist. Rounds 5 and 7 were priority assets into disruption armies, which plays Extract Relic. Round 3 and the finale were priority assets mirrors, the sabotage mission. And that finale is the one blemish, an 85 all draw against Adepta Sororitas. Statistically, their easiest pairing of the weekend at 72% over 25 games. A drawn objective mirror against the softest matchup on the card, the dice giveth. 7 wins, 1 draw, 0 losses, and the faction's hardest matchup beaten by 53 points. List Review 2, Jonathan Sebert, a clean 5-0 for first at the Cherry City GT on the same Covenant and Needgaard pairing. And you don't need a parser for their disposition. The list is literally titled Priority Assets in the export. Same build as Aflleje, same objective plan, 2 different events, both winning. That's the strongest thing you can say about a pairing. Let's see the 5-0. Sebert's 5 rounds, and round 1 is a gem the pairings handed us. The Mirror, Jess Keys, also on Votann, but on the Covenant and Mercenary shell, the same one our 3rd featured list wins with. And both dispositions are on record here. Sebert's export, titled Priority Assets, Keys' export, declaring Take and Hold. 2 objective plans, 1 table, and the Needgaard build took it 95 to 77. From there, Tau and Orcs barely got on the board, 97-51, 95-66. The honest read of this draw, no wall factions in it, so the test was converting a clean sheet without slipping, which plenty of good players still fail. The closer was Space Marines, another recorded priority assets mirror, sabotage again, 89 to 85. 5-0, and nobody got within 4 points except the mirror and the last game. List Review 3 is the counterpoint, Sweet Lou, 5-0 for first at the SummerCon Gold ticket, and this one is not the Needgaard build. The Hearthguard Covenant with a Mercenary Oathband, the shell that leans on the Hearthguard as a re-rolling gun unit, and their disposition is declared in capital letters at the top of the export, using Take and Hold. So the counterpoint isn't just a different detachment, it's the 3rd objective disposition of the episode. Purge the Foe never shows up in these featured lists. Let's look at it. Sweet Lou's 5 rounds on Take and Hold. The statement game was round 3, Thousand Suns dismantled 100 to 55. Round 4, Custodes, the same 25 and 48 while Aflleje beat, and the off-meta build went through it too, 93 to 71. Twice in one episode, the faction's worst matchup lost to a featured list, and the closer is the round from the mission card earlier. Imperial Knights, a free blade company that carries Purge the Foe on record, into Sweet Lou's Take and Hold, which plays Immovable Object. The Knights needed kills, the Squats needed dirt, and the dirt won, 92 to 86 with first place on the line. 5-0, 3 trophies across 3 featured runs, and all 3 on objective missions. That's the corrected story, and it's a better one. Quick word before the predictions. If this breakdown helped, hit like and subscribe. It tells the YouTube cogitators to push it to more players, and it genuinely helps the channel. Everything you have seen, the win rates, the matchup board, the unit pick rates, it all lives in the Wardrill app, refreshed every week right next to the drills and the damage calculator. It is on wardrill.app, iOS and Android, links in the description. Thank you to my Patreon supporters and to everyone using the app out there. 3 things I'm putting on record for Leagues of Votann to grade when we come back. 1. The surge doesn't hold as a surge, and it doesn't need to. I think the cumulative settles back toward the low 50s it's held all edition, not the 61 from this weekend. If it stays above 55 over the next few weekends, I'm wrong, and it's a real climb. 2. The Covenant and Needgaard pairing stays the default build. If a different pairing climbs past a third of the faction's lists before we revisit, the meta found a gear I didn't see coming. 3. The Custodes matchup stays a wall. 34% into Custodes over a real sample, and I think that's structural, not variance. If it climbs past 45 next time we look, they found an answer. Grade me on those. Before I go, thank you to my Patreon supporters, and especially to our Magos operators, the folks keeping the cogitators lit. Your names are on the screen, it genuinely means a lot. That's the Leagues of Votann. Short version, don't let one loud weekend rewrite the story. This is a small, concentrated faction that's quietly been good the whole edition, that eats mid-table infantry and struggles into fast elite hitters and the demons. If your local meta is full of Guard and Sisters and Marines, the Squats are a genuinely strong pick. If it's full of Custodes and Demons, think hard. If you play Love, or you just beat one and want to tell me I'm wrong, the comments are open, I read them. This is Sarv from Wardrill. I'll catch you in the next dossier.